So I think when you start a data journey, and now I'm talking about a period of at least 3 to 7 years, depending on the maturity of any organization. So at the insurance company, for example, we were quite early at that maturity level. We were not very far ahead. At another bank I worked for, the maturity was quite high. In my recent experience, we were somewhere in between. Depending on where you are on the maturity, you start actually talking about, as you were saying, end to end in the data terminology, the data producer versus consumer level of data. And when we are starting any journey, we always start with the consumption.
Mm,
Where are we consuming the data? Who are the power consumers? Now, in any bank context, the power consumers are mostly the control functions, whether it's risk, finance, or compliance. And we started looking at both the banks using the data at the consumption level, the requirements of regulators, and starting to see how we can provide the data in the best quality and at the right time, obviously, uh, with the right policies attached to it. As we move through the maturity cycle, as we make sure that all the different uses of consumption are getting that data, we start looking at what are the costs for providing this data, and we want to minimize this cost at any level. And that's when you start going up the value chain or the data production till you actually get to the business which is producing the data, because any business or any data that we are getting is actually business interacting with the customers and getting the data into the systems. So if we are cleaning up or doing quality measures only at the consumption level, then actually you will have to do that for every single use of data, or you do it at the middle, and that's also increasing costs. So it's best that we start putting the quality standards right at the source, right at the production, so that you do not have to do any quality measures
mm.
multiple times for multiple uses.
Yep, for sure. Now, you also believe that once organisations have their data pipelines ready, that tech personas, CIOs, chief data officers, enterprise architects, all those roles, these personas need to be working as one so that you build data-driven architectures and applications. Now, why is this the case, and what does it mean for the evolution of the CDO role?
Yeah. So I think I would start start answering the question backwards, if you may. Um, how do I see the evolution of the CDO role? And that then I'll answer, why do I see it that way? I think in the current context or in the past few years, CDO has been required because the importance of data in the last 5 to 10 years has increased rapidly with
Mm,
use of AI, use of analytics, and now moving into generative AI, as you were also saying in the last minutes before introducing me. But to get there, eventually, I do not see a duplicacy in a CDO role as well as a CIO role. We would
mm,
actually have to merge them to actually bring enterprise architecture and data architecture almost close together, if not be the same person, because any application that you use, any processes that you have, you would have to map them with the data and you will have to actually use the data in these applications. This is what has been the biggest success factor in the last roles that I've had, whether it's with ESG, whether it's with finance, whether it's with risk, whether it's with compliance. As long as the end to end data flow into these applications is known, you can design the applications well. And the second, or the most important thing which is happening with these applications right now, is to be able to use these applications in the cloud so that your infrastructure costs as well as your application costs are going down. If you want to move these applications into the cloud, you would have to know how your data flow into the cloud is, so that you are reducing your ingress egress costs to put the data onto the cloud and
Yeah.
to move the data out as well. That's why it is extremely important to have the full flow of the data, starting from where it is being produced and how it is flowing through the data platforms into the applications, and at best in the same flow altogether.